much, and welcome back to those of you joining us on YouTube as well. My name's Catherine Castle, I'm from Rock Paper Shotgun, and we're here to talk about the music of RuneScape. So joining me today are Ian Taylor, the senior audio designer, and Steve Lord, who's head of audio, or as RuneScape fans probably know them better as Mod Ian and Mod Lord. So welcome.
Okay. Hello.
So, as we venture forth onto this road to harmony, as it were, I thought we'd go kind of right back to the beginning, talk a little bit about kind of how you came up with like the initial themes for the game, and sort of how did you kind of approach, you know, you've got this game sort of sitting in front of you, like how did you like, oh man, I've got to write some music now.
Well, this gigantic Can I just say, Ian was Jagex employee number 4, so
yeah.
It was after the 3 guys themselves.
Yeah, congratulations.
Part of the furniture.
Yeah. So what's the first piece of music you ended up composing, and how long did it take you to be kind of 100% happy with it?
It was called Harmony. I don't think I'm still 100% happy with it now. Or any of the pieces of music that I write, as a lot of creative types are, they get very critical about their work. But I think it was probably... Right. Sorry? Probably where I'm waving it around. I think it's probably a couple of days, I think. It's worth of work on that one, maybe 2.5 days. But then it got quicker and quicker and quicker. And the emphasis really was, on getting as many pieces done as possible. Because it was just up to me. And I wasn't doing it full time at the time, so... but I was trying to kind of come up with catchy melodies, and rather than, taking kind of ages and ages on trying to kind of craft things as beautifully as possible, I wanted quick, catchy melodies that would get stuck in people's heads and would be hopefully memorable and also have relevance to the game world and kind of complement some of the areas that are in the world.
Yeah.
We've got Harmony here. Can we play the MIDI file of Harmony? Just to remind people what it used to sound like.
Finest work. Sounds like you've got 2 versions of Harmony playing at the same time there. I didn't write this one. Sounds like something you put in a lift.
Technical difficulties. While they find the right piece of music, how many pieces of music do you think you've created in total? Oh, there we go. That's the one. That's quite a lot of music.
We're in Guinness Book of Records for the most piece of music in a computer game, which was 1,198, I think. But
that's quite a lot.
I think we've done about another 50 since then, so
right,
it keeps going up.
We've got lots of other little kind of jingles and short pieces of music that aren't part of the soundtrack, if you like. Well, at least a lot of these kind of tunes, they're unlockable in the game.
Yeah.
So you visit an area or do a quest or something, and they unlock the soundtrack, which all counts towards a kind of
yeah.
achievements in the game. So that was all part of our side of it. Trying to get some jingles, the level up stuff, and incidental bits that just last like 10-20 seconds.
Yeah.
As well.
And sort of, when you sit down to create a piece of music, what's your kind of process like? Is it kind of a matter of, say, sitting at a keyboard and then feeding that into kind of like the music tools that you have to then get it into the game, or is it just easier to, can you kind of compose straight into the tools that you have?
Well, nowadays it's a little bit different because we can use whatever instruments we want. small room, so I only had a little kind of mini keyboard, and it was all composed using. It's still using Cubase, which is a kind of well-known digital audio workstation for writing music. But yeah, it's just using the sounds that were built into the sound card, and it's just a matter of basically, sheer panic when you've got a blank page in front of you.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of extract it out of your mind and out of your heart, whatever, and then kind of iterate on it. And I mean, there's loads of bits of music that I throw away as well.
Yeah.
You start and then you think, no, that's not doing it. And then some stuff, if I kind of end up tapping my foot or humming it, then it's kind of going the right way.
What does a computer sound card actually kind of, without kind of any tinkering, what does it actually sound like?
Just like this. This is an example of the same kind of sounds that's been around from the Sound Blaster days and stuff like that. Haven't really changed an awful lot. They've improved in quality a little bit, I think.
The reason the game was playing through sound cards is because it was a browser-based game, and the size of the game had to be really small. So MIDI files are really small, so we couldn't really afford the bandwidth.
60 kilobytes. Yeah, that was my maximum.
Yeah.
I remember writing one tune, and it was 3 times that. So I had to take. I got really into the tune. I thought, this is sounding nice.
Yeah.
And then I realised it was like 100 and like 40K or something, so I had to cut it into 3 pieces and make it into 3 tunes.
Yeah. How do you do that? Kind of what's the process in that? Is it just kind of taking out layers?
Well, I mean, a lot of the kind of the way that I compose is usually, you've got like a main kind of tune, whatever, but then I like composing in sections anyway. I like it to sometimes going to go off and do something different. So there were some natural divides which I could cut. And then after that, you basically rework it, you massage it into place until it kind of, starts to sound nice.
How have obviously, these days, you can record with live instruments and live people singing, but how have the tools themselves changed in sort of since you first started working on the music?
Oh yeah, they've definitely improved. I mean, we've got better kind of tech for adding stuff. The biggest thing was being able to add audio files, because these aren't audio files originally, they're MIDI files, so it's just data.
Yeah.
But now we can record a live violin and we can put it into the game as an audio file and kind of control it through the game script.
With the original game on old school, that you couldn't play any samples at all. So all the old school sound effects, they're all generated with a synthesizer.
Right,
so absolutely everything was basic back then.
Yeah, that's why there's some pretty crazy sounding, unrealistic kind of cows and swords and stuff like that. And I'm sure if there's some RuneScape fans, you probably know there's a few kind of infamous sounds, crossbow specials and stuff like that, and a couple of magic sounds like an ice barrage and stuff like that have become a kind of minor infamosity because they sound so sort of off the wall, really.
Yeah.
To be fair, we've come full circle and we're using those tools again these days.
We are, because we're working. We do stuff on old school as well. We just had a recent sort of big update on old school, and we had to then go back. I hadn't touched the synth for 7 or 8 years.
Right. Yeah.
So I had to go back to it, and I was like, oh no, I've got to start. I've got another 100 sound effects to make, but it was good fun. You know, the principles of the synthesizer are still the same as what you get with modern equipment in terms of like the architecture, how a sound is built, but it's just the interface. It's very, very different. It's just a load of lines on screen and kind of odd ways of kind of inputting your data, but you get pretty good results out of it.
And kind of, do you think that if you were coming to say RuneScape fresh now as a kind of new composer, do you think that kind of the simplicity of things back then made it easier in a way, or like is there too much choice now in terms of like the sheer number of instruments you can have?
Good question. I think it's a 50-50 because it was nice just to kind of have a limited sound set, because then that's what you can work with and you try and get the best out of it.
Yeah.
I was always frustrated that I couldn't do more with what I had, especially with a fantasy game. You've got somewhere like a really unusual, I don't know, cave or something like that. You might not necessarily want a xylophone or a piano. You might want some really cool kind of textural sound, and that wasn't possible. Yeah. So it gives us more freedom now, but with that freedom comes, you have to kind of exercise more restraint, really. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just kind of infinite, isn't it?
And kind of how do you create a piece of music that doesn't like? Obviously, you want those earworms for people to hum and to kind of remember, but how do you make it not annoying? after kind of hours of
I don't know if I've actually managed that, have I?
We love to make annoying pieces of music.
I don't know. I think, again, if it's, I have to kind of rely on what I like.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to write stuff that I think other people will like as well, but if it doesn't resonate with me in any way, then I don't think it's really going to work at all. Because we're in a team as well, we can kind of throw the idea around to each other, and we can be a little bit critical, and we can take that. If it's kind of like, well, that's really, and it's going to get on your nerves, then we'll change it.
I think Ian's written some really classic tracks, and he's got a real ear to write sort of memorable hooks that people remember through their childhood, really.
Yeah.
So some of the classics that people remember here today, like Harmony and Newbie Melody and Autumn Voyage and the Scape theme and things like that. These are songs of people's childhood, really, I think.
Was it then kind of a challenge to kind of translate those classic themes into like a full-blown orchestra for the launch of RuneScape 3? Like, how did you retain that sort of sense of nostalgia when, you're kind of essentially using a completely different set of instruments?
It was challenging, and I think really Ian's songs, whatever the structure, there's a core melody in there. Like, you've heard the Harmony tune, and if you can play the orchestral version of it, you can kind of see it's still the same track basically, but it's the same notes. So as long as you've got that memorable hook in there, then that's what people sort of recognise. And I think when it comes.
We've got the video. There we go.
So it's the same thing, but it's just with 70 amazing musicians, really. So we work with an external composer, James Hannigan. He's done other things like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Dead Space, things like that. So it's literally his life work is to work with orchestras, so he will be orchestrating this and bringing his own flavour to it. But they're still essentially Ian's melodies.
A lot of the songs have been reworked before this, though.
Right.
And they've had this kind of interim, 2 or 3 different versions as the technology's improved with the company. We've kind of gone so far with it, and then for kind of like the RuneScape kind of 3 launch, we recorded a whole load of musicians that came in as well. As well as kind of computer-based samples and better quality instruments. We had a lot of accordions and violins and flutes and that sort of stuff. So that was pushing all towards this direction. And this is kind of where it sort of ends up, really.
We've got another really good example of this. If you can play the Scape MIDI, you can hear the original version, which everybody knows, I think. Are you all RuneScape players? Okay, good.
Are you coming to RuneFest?
Oh, come on, it's going to be amazing.
Unfortunately, we haven't got any free tickets to give away, unfortunately.
Remortgage your house, it'll be fine. See, this makes grown men cry, doesn't it? I can see a few people
makes me cry.
There.
Makes me cry to think how old I am now. No, it's all good fun, really. This was one of the ones I had to cut up. This was much bigger originally. This was essentially part of a tune called Trinity, and it kind of grew out of sort of different parts and stuff. But yeah, it's my favourite parts of Superman and Star Wars mix.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Essentially.
That's always good material to draw from.
Didn't plagiarise them.
Can we show the new version? So obviously this is what we just did at Abbey Road with the Philharmonia. I don't think we've put this out on YouTube yet. Sorry, I'm making the sound guy work hard. It's nice to have it the other way around for a change. Sorry, what you don't see there is we've also got a full choir that we recorded on the same day, and they were amazing. If you listen to the new soundtrack, like Hero's Return, which is based on the Rise Hero, there's some amazing Latin choir chants on there. So
what is really amazing about these guys is that you give them a piece of, they'd never heard it before or anything.
Yeah.
You give them a piece of sheet music and they play it the first time.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Yeah. I mean, what was the experience like having your music recorded at Abbey Road Studios?
Weird. It's very strange for me.
Yeah.
Because we've got a video out where I kind of sort of talk about it a little bit, and there's a sort of sense of detachment. It's still there. It's still kind of like the essence of my music, but it's kind of like, wow, I felt this kind of like slight disconnect with it.
Yeah.
But it's okay because I've written plenty of music now.
That was the view that we had. We were just sat on the balcony watching them perform, and it's just incredible.
I got very serious and critical, and like, hang on a minute, that was slightly different to the way that I wrote it.
Right. Yeah. Kind of, how did you decide which tracks to get them to record?
A lot of it was James's choice, but we wanted the certain classics that we wanted to do, because we've done some sort of orchestral stuff before as well.
Yeah.
We wanted to try and cover at least some of the most popular tracks, the ones that we thought would translate well, that were essentially originally written kind of orchestrally.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't kind of done a shanty with this one because it doesn't really fit with an orchestra, but you know, some of this kind of stuff does with string sections, and brass sort of fits well with the theme.
I'm sure one day we'll end up doing sea shanty too with an orchestra.
I'm sure we probably.
So everybody seems to want. But we did Harmony, and it was my choice to do Gnome Ball because it's a really silly song, and Born to Do This as well because that was like a login screen for years. So Born to Do This too is really epic new version, and I'm pretty sure it'll end up in the login screen at some time in the future.
And kind of, was it different with when working with the Philharmonia Orchestra? Were they different to the orchestra that you used? Was it the Slovak National Symphony Orchestra beforehand? Is there a difference in how they play it?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe the Philharmonia is more experienced, but we could put more complex parts their way. So some of the really fast, complicated orchestral passages, whereas the Slovak orchestra was more softer pieces. We did Scape Bold and Scape Melancholy and Autumn Voyage and things like that there. Yeah. So both amazing orchestras. But we've got an even more amazing orchestra at RuneFest this year. So
yeah. That's the Royal Philharmonic, isn't it?
The Royal Philharmonic, yeah. It doesn't get any better than that, does it?
Not to be confused with the Philharmonia. And sort of, we're now, on that note, we're sort of now starting to see, obviously, more like video game concerts being put on. Obviously, you've got the Royal Philharmonic coming to RuneFest in a couple of weeks' time. Do you think that you'll ever do like a standalone RuneScape concert, like the separate thing?
Yeah, that would be great. Rich, can we do one of those?
I think if there's enough interest.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes first.
Yeah. If you had like a dream venue in mind, where would it be?
Oh, Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
Hawaii?
Hawaii. Why Hawaii?
Madison Square Gardens, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Easy on the budget, boys.
And sort of where do you think that the music of RuneScape will go in the future?
Well, at the moment, it seems to have gone full circle.
Kind of
For old school and what the stuff we've done loads of old school
I think
stuff
I'd like to kind of do a bit more interactive stuff. Hopefully, because it's a living game, which means it gets constantly updated and the tech changes. I'd like to see a little bit more kind of tech put into it so that we could maybe do more with the control of the music.
Yeah.
I think we've got a couple of sort of recent new members of staff who are fantastic, and they brought some fresh ideas in, and we're all kind of collaborating on different projects and stuff. So that's personally what I'd like to see. But I think the beauty of this kind of game is that it's so vast and it's so sort of different area to area. You can kind of do what you want.
Yeah.
So it's not just orchestral either. I mean, that's just a part of it. So, we don't want to turn the game into a fully orchestral game. It's got everything from metal, dubstep, just whatever. Anything goes in RuneScape, to be honest.
Cool. I think that's probably all the questions that I have. I think we've probably got a couple of minutes, 5 minutes or so, for if anyone else in the audience has any questions. I think there should be people with mics being delivered. Hold on a couple of seconds.
Can we show the soundtrack slide? Because this is our recent labour of love.
Hello. Yeah, I just had a question. Do you have any advice for composers who are like trying to get into the games industry, like fresh out of university with, you know, zero experience?
We've had a couple of work experience people in the team, haven't we? We generally don't tend to use kind of external composers much. A lot of the reason is because of the sort of deadlines and also working with the tech and stuff. Because we're audio developers as well, we're responsible for putting them in the game. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of talented people out there who could probably contribute.
To be honest,
we've done a competition before and stuff.
The two people that recently recruited, they didn't really have any experience. It's just quality. You know, if you're a great composer and, you know, you can just, it doesn't really matter what you've done before. If you can send an amazing show reel and it's like, wow, that's amazing.
We've got Twitter accounts, so yeah. Yeah. Give us a shout. Show us what you can do.
I'd say bombard Ian if you want to send any music in.
Cool, thank you.
Cool. Any more questions? That's one over there.
So with the orchestral pieces where you just said that you were quite hands-on, that you got that other composer in to do the translation between and the music you'd composed and the music that actually got produced in the orchestra. Yeah. Is that the same with what we're going to be seeing in RuneFest? Or are you more involved in that?
Got a little bit of both. Well, it's going to be the stuff is basically when it's transcribed for the orchestra. I mean, that's actually a separate kind of skill set on its own. It's not something that I can really do because you need. I mean, people study for years and years and years. And James Hannigan was the guy that basically was, you know, sort of charged with getting this work done. So you're going to hear the versions that we recorded at Abbey Road, but there's also some other music going to be played there by some well-known people, well, us, but that's separate, and that's going to be on the Saturday.
It wasn't all hands off. I mean, it wasn't go away, James, and come back with some music. It was very much an iterative process that he'd come with ideas, see if we liked it, we'd take it in different directions. So it was very much us and him working in collaboration to get what we wanted at the end of it.
Thank you. Also, if you did do a standalone RuneScape concert, I would totally be up for paying for that.
Awesome.
Are you coming to RuneFest?
Yep.
Awesome.
We'll see you there.
It's going to be a night to remember, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's the concerts is going to be a little bit more than you think it. That's all I can say. There's a little bit more to it than just a few orchestral musicians. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
Can we show the vinyl slide?
Any more questions?
It's my baby.
Oh, there we go. In the middle.
Hi guys. When you originally first started writing the music for RuneScape, if the technology had been available to write it for like an orchestra or some other method, would you have been sort of wanted to use that method, or you feel very happy to sort of stick with synths?
Yeah, I mean, although I don't write for orchestra, I've always played keyboards, synthesizers, organs, and stuff like that, and I would have absolutely loved to use my own equipment. It was far better than what I had at work. You know what I mean? My bedroom's full of all sorts of really cool kit, but you use what you can, you know, and you have to try and kind of make the best out of it. And it still goes for kind of every game, even these days. But yeah, I mean, working with an orchestra directly would have been amazing. But we've kind of, you know, we've managed to do it now.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. And also, someone mentioned about how you, I'll fit it out in a second. What sort of advice you would give for people looking to get into the industry in terms of making audio and music? If I can add to that possibly, one thing I actually run a Twitter account that sort of promotes music for video games. We talk about like live concerts and albums and new soundtracks all the time. And one sort of thing we get to go to fairly often is there's like sort of game audio meetups that happen in a few places over the UK. So I think there's one. This one happens up in like sort of Leeds, Sheffield area every few months, and there's also a regular one that happens in London. So for anyone else who's interested in trying to get into the music audio community, I would definitely recommend trying to attend them if you can.
Yeah, those kind of things are really good. You know, I mean, it's kind of a big, but it's also kind of a small community, the gaming community. So yeah, you got to go out, you got to talk to people, you know, reach out, and you've got to kind of promote
And I'd say get involved with game jams and things like that. Get involved with little indie games, because as soon as you get a bit of experience like that, that counts for lots, and then you can kind of hone your craft a little bit then. But there's loads of opportunities like that out there. But I'm not so interested in sort of CVs, more interested in amazing talent and creativity.
Yeah, so more what's in the portfolio. And
absolutely, and put all your best stuff first. So if you're going to do a show reel, make sure your first minute is sort of blows you away, basically.
Let's go. Thanks, guys.
Are there any other questions? I think if you don't want to ask it in front of everyone else, then I think the guys will be hanging around for a little while afterwards, if you want to have a chat with them then. So I think if there definitely are no more questions, then thank you for joining us, everyone. And yeah, as I say, hope everyone has a great EGX for the rest of the day. And yeah, come back at 1 p.m. for the secrets of game development, I think. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you.